Sup, freaks? It's your boy Marty here to introduce this rip of TFTC. Thank you for joining us. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. If you catch us on podcast apps, make sure you subscribe there. Give us a rating, a review. Go to tftc.io as well. Become a member of the site. Join the conversation. Truth for the commoner, trying to get you the high signal content in a world gone mad. This rip was brought to you by our good friends at River. River's here to make it as easy as possible for you to buy Bitcoin and then take it into self-custody. Go to river.com/TFTC, set up an account today, and you'll get $5 of Bitcoin after you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin on River. You can dollar cost average into Bitcoin with no fees. If you're just buying one off, River has the best fees in the industry. They back all their Bitcoin reserves 1-to-1 in multi-sig cold storage. They highly recommend that you take self-custody. They just introduced limits. So if you want to set a limit order below or above the current Bitcoin price, River makes that extremely easy as well. They also have real customer support. You can pick up the phone and call them if you have any questions about your experience on River. So go to river.com/TFTC, set up an account today. This rip is also brought to you by our good friends at CrowdHealth. CrowdHealth is here to provide you with a new way to pay for your healthcare. It's not health insurance. Health insurance is notoriously expensive, opaque, impersonal. CrowdHealth is really trying to change that model. You pay a monthly fee. It builds up in an account. If you ever have a health event, you let CrowdHealth know. They go to the doctor. They negotiate the price lower. You pay the first $500 and the rest gets crowdfunded by the CrowdHealth community. They have Bitcoin Lightning payments that they just enabled. So if you want to pay your monthly fee plus your doctor in Bitcoin over the Lightning Network, you can now do that. They've got a roster of doctors that you can access. They're approaching healthcare in the right way. It's a healthy community focused on preventative healthcare and avoiding the big pharma industry as much as possible. So if you're looking for a cheap healthcare solution, you're not happy with your health insurance, maybe it's a bit too expensive, try out CrowdHealth. Me and my family use it. Go to joincrowdhealth.com/TFTC. Sign up today using that, and you'll get $50 off your first month. Joincrowdhealth.com/TFTC. Enjoy this rip.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Why didn't you get cream in your coffee?
Because you gave me a look like you're the busiest fucking man on the planet, even though you just sit here and stare at the block thing all day. Oh, this is happening all. Sit here and stare at the block thing all day.
You just come on the show and just shit on me and my work ethic.
I feel like I'm the only one who can since I kind of created the show. All right, so real question, why are we here? Why are we doing this? What is this? This is going to be a new series for the Marty Bent world, or Marty whatever your fucking name is world. I realized I've been here for like 2 months. It's probably people are way too smart. Everyone here's too smart, but I'm the dumbest person in this office without a doubt. Like, I'm dumb.
I don't think you're dumb.
I know you don't think I'm dumb, but like the things that are happening here are like next level shit. Next level shit. Like all this Bitcoin shit. MASH, I don't even know what I'm doing. I just know it's going to work. Like, who knows? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I realized one time a month, we got to take an hour and I got to ask you questions.
Okay, I like
For
this.
the normal people.
For the normies?
For the normies.
Yeah.
And we've gone back and forth about how to do this.
Well, this is how the show started.
Yeah.
Like the Bitcoin history episodes, it was basically you being like,
What is
teach me
this?
about this.
Yeah, teach me about it.
And then you got very busy and you stopped coming on the show.
Well, you also big time me a lot, but that's
I did not big time you.
I'm kidding. You didn't big time me once. I needed to come back on it. You didn't big time me once. I'm thinking now that like we need to learn again. We got to learn again. Like the I want to say idiots, morons, whatever I am. We got to learn again because it's pretty obvious Bitcoin's going to win. It's going to win.
Are you more confident now than you were in 2017 when we started the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to win. So we've gone back and forth like what we should do to teach people. And the idea that I've come up with, it's Bitcoin for business.
I like this.
Where I can ask you questions about, I'm going to take a business and I'm going to ask you questions about how Bitcoin would work into their business. Now, There was a little scuttlebutt about what we should start with. We decided we're going to start with a Philadelphia company. I wanted Wawa. You told me not Wawa right
Das
now.
Wawa. Not Wawa. It's too hard.
Wawa's too hard.
It's not too hard, but it's just like, eh.
Yeah, you're right. It's a gas station. Like, what am I going to do? It's a great gas station. One of the best gas stations in the world.
You think it's better than Buc-ee's? Have you been to a Buc-ee's yet?
I have not been to a Buc-ee's, but I kind of need to go, but I don't think anything can be better than Wawa. Wawa has like a nostalgia thing where it's like what states outside of Pennsylvania and Texas have a gas station that matters? Think about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Zero.
I mean, Buc-ee's and Wawa are now in Florida, Tennessee.
Wawa's in Florida?
Yeah.
In Tennessee?
Buc-ee's is in Tennessee. I don't know if Wawa is.
I kind of get why there is no Wawa down here, though, because like Buc-ee's would just be like, no.
Yeah, Buc-ee's would
not have it.
Muscle them out of the market.
Like, I've always thought, why was there no Wawa everywhere? But now I get it, because there's Buc-ee's and stuff. Anyway, so we're not doing Wawa. We're going to do another Philadelphia company. We're going to do Fanatics. Why are we going to do Fanatics? Because fucking Big Dick Mike Rubin he's owned the sports space forever, and I feel like that's a space I know.
Yes.
Like, I don't know another Philadelphia company I could do that I could ask you questions about that would make any sense to me.
I don't want to do Comcast either.
I don't even know what Comcast does. Like, seriously. Like, I asked you a question yesterday. Remember yesterday when I was like, what's an IRA? I really don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I know sports because of sports stuff because of Barstool. I know YouTube stuff because of the McAfee stuff, and I know like consumer products. I don't know anything else. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna ask you questions.
I like this.
I think this is how we can get people that are like, your audience is too smart. We gotta expand now. The world's gotta know about Bitcoin.
Okay.
All right. So we're starting with Fanatics. That's gonna be our first company. What's gonna be a second? I have no idea, because literally me and Marty do not plan. I'm not a planner. I fly. I just fly.
And this is where we butt heads a lot.
True.
Because I'm a bad planner too, and we need better planners in our life.
I'm not the planner. I'm a doer.
We don't compliment each other that way.
We need a planner.
We're winging it. The most planning we ever did was when we did the history of Bitcoin in that office at HQ2.
That was the most. So we probably want to pull up that picture one more time. I'll find it for you. We want to pull that up, because that was a lot of planning.
That was like months of planning.
Maybe 2 weeks, but like you can say it was months, but it was 2 weeks. We probably did it for 2 weeks. We probably left it up. We probably started and left it up there, and then came back to it.
Yeah.
There's no way I was sitting there for months planning anything. I'm playing. I just rip it. Even this thing, I'm ripping it. I was just listening to the podcast. Oh, another reason why we're starting it, I was listening, because how I learn, me and Michael Rubin learn the same way, because it's these Philly guys. He said he doesn't read. I don't read either.
It's not all Philly people. Some of us read.
You read.
Yes.
He doesn't read. I don't read. He said he only listens to podcasts.
You're both very successful, so.
Oh, I'm nothing compared to this guy. But let's be honest. He's one of the big dicks in the world. So the questions that I have for you is, if we're thinking of Fanatics as a whole.
Wait, back up.
Let's take it back up. Okay, let's back up.
Before thinking about Fanatics as a whole, let's describe that whole. What is Fanatics? What do they do? What are their different business lines?
Fanatics is the number one company in the world when it comes to sports apparel, sports merchandise. If you buy anything from any sports company, any team, whatever, you are using Fanatics. The number one thing I think Michael Rubin has done that I still do not know how he's done for this long, and that's why he's the GOAT. He may be the greatest Philadelphia businessman since Ben Franklin. Like, I don't know, but Ben Franklin was from Boston, but I think he's Philadelphia, whatever. He has held on to the sports rights for teams for, I don't know, how long's Fanatics been? 20, 30 years. He's the greatest in the world at that. Like, I don't know how he's been... For Fanatics, products kind of shitty. Like it's kind of shitty. He's been able to hold on to those sports rights for minimum 20 years. Minimum. I honestly, do you want to know wouldn't it be great if I knew exactly when Fanatics started? But I didn't look that up. Because I know it's been a long time.
Logan, look that up. Fanatics.
Look, when did Fanatics start?
Fanatics. We can spell. in Philadelphia too.
I can't spell. All right, now it's gonna get hard. Let me throw my juice. 2011. So it started in 2011.
So we're only 12 years in.
Feels like forever. So no, but let's ask a question though. Let's ask another question. He owned another thing called like GSI Commerce or something before that, right? We're definitely going to have to cut some of this.
We're not cutting anything. We're not cutting anything.
We're not cutting anything?
No, just rip.
Okay, it's fine with me. I don't give a shit. I don't care that the dude didn't. I don't know when he started his company.
I think when he started the company is external from the conversation we want to have, which is how can this company implement Bitcoin?
Yes, that is true. But I feel like I should have done a little bit more DD, or I did have a page with DD on it, but I don't know how to read. That's the problem. I don't know how to read. I have a page sitting right in front of me. I don't know how to read. All right, so
the thing is 95 got turned into GSI Commerce in 02.
Yeah, so GSI Commerce. This is when. So I actually have a good story about this. And
this goes back to 95 then.
You want to hear a really good story about this? You want to hear this is why we started with this guy, Big Mike. Did you know that at one point they were calling King of Prussia around the King of Prussia area the Silicon Valley of the East?
I did not know that.
I swear to God.
KOP?
I swear to God. When I was like starting in Barstool, I went to this company when I was like, I was like trying to learn about ad tech. And I went to this company called Technicos. And this dude, Jason Hartman, told me that they once called it the Silicon Valley of the East.
What happened? How did King of Prussia have such a fall from grace?
I don't know. I know like GSI Commerce and all them started there. I was like, oh, this team, Young Lou was like, oh, that's actually cool. That's actually makes sense. Like Fanatics was started around this area. Like maybe it could have been the Silicon Valley of the East.
That's why we need to go back. Re-erect that.
That's also been. There's also been a lot of grumblings that we have to go back and save the city sooner than we thought.
Yeah,
we may not be Texans for a long time. We may have to go back sooner and save it.
I've got my natural born Texan, and the youngest. He's our anchor baby in case we ever need to come back for some unforeseen reasons.
Yeah, I think in the next couple of years we're going to have to go back and save it sooner.
Yeah,
didn't realize how quick we were going to save the city. Me, you, and Big Mike.
All right. Big Mike's a big business leader. Part owner of the Sixers.
Was a part owner of the Sixers. Gave it up. Learned that. Why he gave it up last night? So he can be more in business. So he can serve the customers of Fanatics more. Learned that too when I was listening to my podcast, since I don't read. Now, besides being the leader in sports apparel, they also have a gambling business now because they bought PointsBet. They have a live streaming platform, Fanatics Live. They have their own airline miles type points called FanCash, which they give back to users for buying stuff. And I think we may want to start there with FanCash. FanCash is basically just like airline miles points. So I kept thinking in my brain, I was like, why would it not be Bitcoin? Why would something like Fanatics that has this? Mike Rubin's greatest thing is he's the greatest relationships person on the planet. That's also why I want to start with him. Started with him. It's like the guy, Philadelphia guys. We're all Philadelphia guys. We've all probably been
good people.
Good people. Kind of. We're
good people. We know how to talk to people, build relationships.
Yeah. I guess we're good. Philadelphia people are good people. I don't know how outside of Philadelphia. I think people just like us outside of Philadelphia. I have that whole theory too.
Do they?
When you get to a different part of the world that's not Philadelphia, I feel like they're like, oh, that motherfucker made it out of Philadelphia. We like him anyway. We like him for that reason alone. That's why I moved to Boston. That's how I felt. I was like, oh, they just like me because I'm out of there. Because I got out.
That makes sense.
Of the mean streets.
But we always want to go back.
We're gonna have to go back at some point. But that's me and you. Big Mike is throwing white parties. That's his name now. He's Big Mike. Big Mike, I kind of feel like I know him. I've listened to so many podcasts about him. He's throwing the white party. He's got the big party. He has the best relationships in the world with these people. He has FanCash. FanCash is kind of like airline miles points. I get the point of being like, let's keep everyone in the ecosystem. But why would you not tie that to Bitcoin? Why would you not tie? Why is everyone not saying let's do cash back in Bitcoin or tying that to Bitcoin?
That's a great question. I think it's like a very smart move, like to replace FanCash with Bitcoin rewards, Sats rewards. So they could leverage something like Fold in their enterprise API. And so Fold is a rewards-based company. And that's really what they're going after, is the whole total addressable market of rewards, airline miles, Starbucks miles, or Starbucks cash, FanCash, all of that. They want to replace that with Bitcoin. And I think it's a very smart idea for these companies to adopt it. But like you said, there's this preconceived notion that we need to keep everybody in our ecosystem. And the best way to do that is have these points, this point system that can only be spent at our company. And that makes sense when you're looking at it at first glance. Like, yeah, of course you want to keep people sort of involved with your company and they get points that they can only spend there. However, history has shown, whether it's airline miles or Starbucks cash, that people get debased. Essentially, Starbucks did it last year. They said, all right, your Starbucks cash is cut in half. Like it's worth half of what it was yesterday. Airline miles, they expire after a certain amount of time. Not privy to the exact dynamics of FanCash, but I imagine there could be similar dynamics at play. And why you would replace that FanCash with Bitcoin, I think it's a bit counterintuitive, where you're trying to solve the problem of people spending at your company. I think incorporating Bitcoin can actually accelerate that, especially if you're a first mover in the space. Because if you're spending money at Fanatics and you're getting Bitcoin back, and you're one of the few places that's doing that early, I think you're actually going to accelerate that problem that you're trying to solve, which is like, we want more people spending more money at Fanatics. If they know they're going to get a Bitcoin reward in return and cash back, like they'll go buy more Fanatics stuff because they're getting something that's actually valuable. And the problem that arises, and I think that's something companies like Fanatics need to get comfortable with, is since it's Bitcoin, it can be spent other places. They can get the Bitcoin cash back and go spend it other places. However, I do think if you're a first mover, that problem's solved by people wanting to spend money because they know they're going to get Bitcoin back.
Yeah. So what that also brings me to what you're saying, and what I was thinking about with FanCash too, is the idea of Fanatics wants to be the everything app of sports. Let's assume there is many super apps. There's Amazon. Amazon's a super app, kind of where you can do a million different things on there. If Fanatics like, I want to be the super app of sports, wouldn't that help users to be like, okay, they want to get in ticketing one day. Let's say they want to get in ticketing one day. How else would you're never going to be able to get enough FanCash points to get a ticket to the Super Bowl. But with Bitcoin, you could. Like that's, if for Big Mike's a big guy on like, oh, like what's the best experience for fans? And how else would someone save for a Super Bowl ticket if you're buying you're buying stuff that, like if you're a super sports fan, how else would they do it? Like it seems like that would be impossible, right? Like, because there is no savings technology within any type of like, yeah, I swipe my credit card, I get points from Chase, but like they're not, I'm never going to get enough points to get, like, you see people that have like billions of airline points. Yeah, they could buy, but like a normal person could never save enough to get that like game ticket without something like this. Unless I'm crazy wrong, because like the price of Super Bowl tickets go up every year.
Yeah.
Big game tickets go up every year.
I mean, it would come out with the timing. Like you'd have to accumulate enough Bitcoin back rewards when the price is low and have that go up. And then, you could potentially buy a ticket.
But long-term value of it, that's what I'm saying. The long-term value seems like the only way you could do it.
Yeah.
You're never going to get enough airline miles to like, or Chase points or whatever we're calling them, FanCash points, to get like the items that, like, if you are thinking, if Big Mike is thinking, and I don't know if he likes me calling Big Mike, I'm going to come up with a few different names for him, just so you know that. If he's like, okay, I want to get into all these different businesses within the sports ecosystem, whether it's ticketing, whether they're big in the collectibles now, they just bought Topps. People that want to buy like a Joel Embiid rookie card, those are very expensive. Someone's not going to be able to save up enough money for those things. So it's kind of like you're hurting your consumer by not doing it, because the people that you can never get enough, you're never going to be able to get enough on FanCash or XYZ to get to the level to be like, oh, this one prize item that I possess, the amount of points you need, it's just impossible.
That is an important part too. And like, not only is maybe there's a reality where somebody can get enough points, but they can never have confidence that even if they do get enough points, it'll be worth what they originally thought it was. Again, going back to airlines basically having their miles expire after a certain amount of time, or Starbucks cutting the value of their cash back in half overnight. And so that preconceived notion, that knowledge that this happened in other areas would probably disincentivize people from engaging in it in the first place. Because like, hey, why is it even worth it? Because my airline miles expire, my Starbucks cash got cut in half. Like, it could happen here too. So that could be like a mental blocker that prevents people from engaging in something like FanCash. And then, but if it's Bitcoin, like, and you're giving Bitcoin back rewards using something like Fold's API, like the end user knows that FanCash, Starbucks, American Airlines has no control over the supply of Bitcoin at any given point in time. So they know that if they get sats back and it's in their wallet, like, it's not getting debased. And so that may incentivize them to interact more with this cashback scheme. And then on top of that, talking about the different business verticals, whether it's sports, memorabilia, jerseys, all that stuff, and then ticketing, those are two different verticals with two very different sort of business economics, I would expect. And so the economics of FanCash for points back while you're buying memorabilia may be completely different than something like ticketing.
You're correct there.
And so like the economics FanCash may not have the incentive to make those points fungible across those different business lines because the economics don't make sense. Whereas with Bitcoin, it does make sense because at the end of the day, if you're paying for a ticket in Bitcoin, that's good money that you can actually hold on your balance sheet.
Yes. So there is a world. You can use FanCash for different things right now, but the assumption, I think it would be I think what you're saying, and I think what you're saying is correct. It'd be much harder to be like, okay, I bought, I want to just, and essentially you go out and you buy the new, the Kelly Green jerseys come out for the Eagles. Just going to use Philadelphia stuff because this is what I know. They come out, you buy it, you get some points back on there. What you're saying is if there was like a Lightning Bitcoin implementation, it could just go into one wallet, sits there, and you could easily send it to like, oh, I want to hold this here for when I want to go buy tickets like 2 years from now.
Yeah.
I know that I buy my Kelly Green jersey in week one, and God, we could even pull up like what was the price of Bitcoin in week one?
Look that up, Logan.
What was the price of Bitcoin in week one in the NFL season? Because then it's like, oh, I buy the Kelly Green jersey in week one. Eagles are looking good. I want to maybe have that cash back to go back to to like a playoff game or whatever.
When was that?
September.
Let's say September 7th-ish. That would be week one.
Yeah.
That actually makes sense because it's like, okay, that's real. If you're thinking about it, if I'm Mike Robin and I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about it from like the perspective of like, okay, I want the people that are using this thing, I maybe I want them to go buy another like $20 item or whatever, another jersey or hat. But in reality, if there's a savings technology behind my cash back, then I can I'm moving them to higher ticketed items.
Yes.
Like over, and Logan's going to pull up what Bitcoin was on September 7th. And we're going to say like, okay, like this is a real world example of where you could have really have done it. Where it's like, I bought my Kelly Green jersey. I got back, bought the authentic Kelly Green jersey. You get back I don't know, let's say you get back, I'm making this up, you get back 5% of it. It's $300 for the authentic one. So
26K.
What?
26K.
So if you got back 5% on 300, I can't do public math. I'm the worst.
It's $15.
$15.
So $15 is around $28 right now, I would say.
So exactly, there's no other way. There's no other thing on the planet where you could sit there and say this reward system within the ecosystem would be doubled within 16 weeks, and under 16 weeks.
Yeah, it's probably around $25, but that's certainly a case. I think the more important case here too, when we're thinking about companies like Fanatics trying to implement a Bitcoin strategy, I think the rewards aspect and the rewards avenue is the lowest friction way to introduce it. Because a lot of people, when they're like, incorporate Bitcoin into your company, or like accept Bitcoin for payment, and the reality of the situation is most people don't have Bitcoin, and so they're not going to interact with that invoice to pay in Bitcoin most of the time, unless they're like hardcore Bitcoiners like you and me. The rewards aspect, though, is a sly roundabout way to introduce Bitcoin to your customers, where they may not be Bitcoiners, but they may be willing to take Bitcoin as rewards because it's basically no skin in the game for them. It's cash back. It's money they wouldn't have anyway. And so mentally, they're probably like, yeah, I'll accept Bitcoin as a cash back reward instead of going out and buying it. And then they get introduced to Bitcoin that way. They hold it in their account. They wake up one day, see the $15 in cash back they got they got in September is now $25. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And they want to get more Bitcoin because they saw that. And so they start spending more. And then eventually they understand Bitcoin, what it means as money in the digital age. And then they become more willing to spend it on goods and services down the road.
Yes. But the idea of just being able to sit there and say the cost of something that I can get something else that I didn't want is massive in terms of like if I'm running a business where like it's all customer focused, like my entire business, if I'm running Fanatics, the entire, like if you service your customers better than the next person, you're going to win. Like kind of what like Amazon did with 2-day shipping. Okay. Like second they introduced 2-day shipping, it's like, okay, I get the product as quickly as I can possibly get it. It's like, that's where I think there's a huge advantage for consumer companies to do this because
and to that point, like I think rewards, this is a great way to actually serve your end client. You're not giving them some buku, and I'm not trying to be derogatory here, but this is just the history of point systems historically, like buku FanCash bucks. Like they're centrally controlled. Who knows what they'll be worth one day to the next. This is serving the end client by giving them cash back rewards in Bitcoin. Because they know that in the long term, value is going to accrue to Bitcoin, and those quote unquote points in the form of Bitcoin are going to be worth something, which is serving your end client at the end of the day.
Yeah, because especially if you're a global business and you're like, I want to go, like I think about the NFL a lot because obviously it's the sport I watch the most, that and the NBA. It's like, okay, I'm going to a game in Germany or England. Like you have if you could automatically change it, like that's the other thing that's my next question, honestly, is like in a global business, things change all the time. Wouldn't you want to run something like this on Lightning off of just a payments processing thing? Because like
we were talking about it last week, chargebacks.
Yeah, like
massive
chargeback.
problem.
Yeah.
Like it solves that problem immediately.
Chargebacks, huge problem in the world. Just a huge problem for everyone in every business. Yeah. It solves chargeback problems. It also solves the idea. Doesn't it also solve the idea of like onboarding new customers? Like let's say, okay, case in point, you see what the Middle East or Saudi Arabia is doing. Like they're buying all the sports leagues. They're buying sports leagues. They're buying stars or whatever. Okay, they're going out and being like, you got to go set up operation in a different country. Can't you just do that instantly because you have the payment system set up instantly?
Well, yeah, and to be more specific, set up an operation in that country, set up bank accounts. Set up a foreign exchange between dollars and Rial, I believe is what they use in Saudi Arabia. That takes a lot of money, upfront capital. With Bitcoin, it's software, free and open source. Like you can, if you want it to be bold and just go Bitcoin only, and that international aspect of your business would make it much easier.
Because that's what I think about a lot too. It's like Mike Rubin, NBA guy. It's like, okay, let's assume the NBA wanted to have like games in Africa one day or somewhere else. It's like, how would you set that up quick enough? Like that would take years but with Bitcoin, if Bitcoin was the payment layer, You could set that up instantly. You could show up and be like, we have an arena, we're selling everyone buys it in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, Zapper, you could easily implement what they're doing. Just get your own exchange account. You don't have to do your own wallets. You set up an account, business account with River, Unchained, and their back end handles the invoicing, and you get paid immediately. And then beyond that, like, again, going back to the problem, most people don't have Bitcoin. They're not going to spend, maybe in countries like, not countries, on continents like Africa.
But I'm thinking continents, like we're thinking about a global shifting world where if you told someone 10 years ago that the best people in the PGA would go like be playing and would be like, oh, they're playing in the Middle East. It's like, they like, huh? Like how quickly, like things like that change. And it's like, if you don't have a universal payment layer, how do you move? Like, how do you do that? Like, is that even possible? That's
you go domicile a business entity in that country, which takes time, money, and you set up a bank account connected to that business entity. It takes time, money. I mean, you probably have to do a small amount of this, even if you are accepting Bitcoin, but I find it hard to imagine that'd be anywhere near as burdensome as setting up banking infrastructure across these countries.
So you're saying, meaning like it would be 100 times easier to just show up and be like, I have the software on my phone. I want to start selling. Like, you never know. Like, I think about, like, you know what, I always think about like European basketball players, like middle of nowhere, Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world now. Like, let's say you want to show up and start selling jerseys, like you could do that, right? Like, because it's just instant.
Yeah.
So anywhere on the planet, you could show up and just be like, okay, instead of I have to set up all this infrastructure, or like, because you just don't know when things like that take off. Like, you don't know, like I mean, like people knew Luka Doncic was going to be the best, but it's like you see these things that are just like, okay, like this guy's going to go to the NBA. People are showing up to, like, maybe they want to get his jersey, or they want to like show up or like build. Michael Rubin can do this. Like, he's good at this, as we know. Like, I'm thinking also along this line, like every athlete now is their own personal brand.
Yeah.
We're seeing it. We saw it with McAfee. We're seeing it with Paul George. You see it with all these people. They're all doing it. They're all being their own personal brand. If you could basically go to all over the globe, though, like obviously people are like, oh, it's easy because they're in America. What I'm saying is that, like, when your sports now is so global, and these sports are global, and they're going to keep going that way, like if these people are trying to set up personal brands as they're on their way up before they get to the NBA, and like that could happen instantly if you were set up if you had a payment layer like Lightning, Bitcoin, whatever, correct?
Yes. Yes. And before even we don't even have to get that grandiose. I mean, I think there's lower hanging fruit use cases that really...
Go ahead, but that's not grandiose though. This where we're at in the world.
No,
because like the way YouTube works,
grandiose in the sense that like crazy big vision going international. Like, there's again lower hanging fruit that like you could implement for the business you have today that could improve the user experience. So like checkout, Get Alby. I have that wallet extension on my browser. It has Bitcoin in it. When you compare the checkout flow using Get Alby to pay at a checkout like the TFTC store, tftc.io/shop, want to buy a yard sign. When you go there and you pay in Bitcoin, like I don't have to fumble and pull out my debit card. I literally get the Lightning invoice and pay it immediately from Get Alby. Just click a button, it's paid. And so like I would really be interested to see what the fallout rate at checkout is when people have to go to put in their credit card. Like, how many people don't have it on them? How many people like and don't wind up buying something at checkout because they simply don't have their wallet on them? Like, this, from a retention standpoint, like fixes that problem because the wallet's in your browser and you pay right away. You don't have to give up all this personal information. That's another thing. You don't have to hold all this credit card information as a company, which adds a bunch of security data risk to your operation.
But would that makes sense? What you're saying makes complete sense. But wouldn't that hurt them from the perspective of they want to collect the data so they can customer map? I assume there's a way maybe you could do it, or I don't know yet. Like, where like you like, okay, I do need the data so I can build out demographics and segments for people.
Yeah, that's why like profiles on these sites exist, right?
Okay.
Like you set up like a customer profile, and then, I mean, the data you do get, like you need to ship the goods somewhere at the end of the day, and that is a physical location, which...
True. So yeah, right. You got to ship the data. That's why you're telling me, because I wouldn't even think about that. I'm the moron. Where like, you're right. You have a customer profile of them, even though they're not using their credit card information.
Yeah.
And then because that's what I think about. What I was thinking about was like why we're doing Fanatics too. It's like they're global. It's global. Things change in that world instantly. Things pop up. You want to like. I think, to be honest, like fucking what's the fake tennis sport that people are playing? Pickleball. I think it's the dumbest sport in the world, but like that takes off and you want to start selling pickleball merch. People are playing it all over the world. It's like, okay, how do you do that instantly? Instantly, you need the payment layer, right? Like that's where I think that there's a huge opportunity for something like Fanatics.
And again, to stress, it's early days still. So you may not get the attraction you expect off the bat, and this is simply driven by the fact that most people don't have Bitcoin. And that's okay. That's why I think rewards is a great place to start. You solve a problem of basically crappy points currency with hard currency in Bitcoin, then you get Bitcoin into people's hands, and then they're more likely to spend Bitcoin on your platform in the future. But I do think there is a case to begin building out this functionality early, just the ability to accept Bitcoin along fiat, particularly for this international case as well, where I think eventually the market is going to come to this, and it's going to be very obvious that this was the solution at the end of the day. And most people worry about timing, and I don't think you can be too early here.
No, not at all. So then that brings me another question that I had for you.
And just to wrap that up, like the industry within Bitcoin has gotten to a point of maturity where the accounting systems and the invoicing systems are mature enough to incorporate into your business line. So it's somewhat seamless. It's not as clunky as it was when we started this podcast 6 years ago.
Okay, so it is possible. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
For the layman over here, it's possible.
Yes.
Okay. So another question I have, what I was thinking about, was listening to them talk about the Topps card business, about like the collectible business. Don't want to bring up the word, but I'm going to bring up the word, the worst word in the world, the NFTs with Gary Vee, who that's probably why Big Mike won't really want to get into Bitcoin, because I think he got in with some bad actors, and one of them is. I don't even. You know what? I don't care. I ain't friends with the dude. If Big Mike's friends with the guy, that's his decision. NFTs are dumb. They're one of the dumbest things in the world. Okay, we all know that. It's completely it's dumb. But there probably is a way where, because they run into issues at Topps where it's like they're called redemptions. Okay, redemption is like you get a pack of cards, a box of cards, and you open it, and it's supposed to have a signed Bryce Harper card in it, and it doesn't. But you can go and chase down the people. You can go back. He said that people like chase them down. Like you can go back and be like, I want this card signed, and they have to get the card signed and send it back to them. There's probably a way where you can authenticate all this stuff. No. Or is that all bogus?
It's all bogus.
Okay. So
the problem comes in like Bitcoin. The only part of the Bitcoin stack that really connects the digital and the physical world is mining, turning energy into hashes that produce Bitcoin. When you try to, like, real estate is probably one of the most common examples of this. Like, let's do real estate deeds on the blockchain. It's anchored into Bitcoin. You can certainly do that. You can have a record of a real estate title in the Bitcoin blockchain, but at the end of the day, like, there's nothing Bitcoin can do to enforce that contract. Like, if somebody, like, let's just use a simple example of like a Pepsi bottle. Like, you try to track the supply chain of Pepsi bottles, and you connect the physical bottle to a hash in the blockchain. And then when you buy it from the vending machine, you own it, and you own that hash on the blockchain too. Technically, that's the contract. You're like, I bought this Pepsi, it's associated with this hash, it's mine. But if I come and fucking take the Pepsi out of your hand and drink it, like, it wasn't really yours at the end of the day. The blockchain says it was, but I drank it. I drank your milkshake. That was mine. And so that is where this idea of like tying physical things to the blockchain really falls flat. Like, if you're going to Topps cards, like a signed Bryce Harper card, like, yes, you could own a signed Bryce Harper card on the blockchain, but if I come and steal it from you, you don't own it. I do.
Yes, that's true. You're right.
Like, so there's nothing Bitcoin can do to enforce that contract. That's something that happens at the social layer of the physical world.
you're 100% correct that you could steal the thing, but couldn't you at least know that like that card was real? Or no? This is
no, because somebody could just write a hash and be like, before they put it in the box, and it could not be signed, but they could write a hash to say it's signed, and it's not signed. Like, there's nothing.
Okay, so
there's nothing that the Bitcoin can do to force somebody to actually sign it. Like,
okay, so we're gonna go through that the entire business of the NFT and all that, like all that jazz of being like tying things to it doesn't work.
I think it's just noise. I mean, where the NFT guys will come is like non-fungible tokens, digital goods, and you can, since it's a digital good, it doesn't operate in the physical world. Yes, like you can prove ownership of the hash, but like at the same day, like I think it's very clout chasey. I don't see any value in it. The digital collectibles, the digital.
But let's assume there was digital collectibles. People cared about that stuff.
And there's been many of these. And what we found, like OpenSea is a perfect example, Bored Apes, like they'll basically launch. It's the same problem with fucking airline points and Starbucks Cash. Like they'll say like, oh, these are scarce, but then they can print as many as they want. There's nothing stopping them from that.
Okay, so that actually makes more sense. That ties back to the original point of like...
They'll say they won't, but...
They say that... You're right. Everyone will say they won't print it. So it ties back to the real thing. It's like, Fanatics works in the actual physical world. They're selling physical products.
Yeah.
So what the real thing is always going to be like...
And we're getting to a good point here. So what I think businesses like Fanatics and your local plumber... Barstool, whatever, should do, just focus on your good business and incorporate Bitcoin revenues and treasury balances into your strategy. Don't try to digitize what you're doing on the blockchain. It doesn't make any sense. It hasn't worked. I don't think it will ever work. It will never work because you can't tie the physical and the digital world outside of hashing. And so, yeah, when we talk about implementing Bitcoin or quote unquote crypto strategy in a business, it should just be about accumulating Bitcoin. How do you accumulate Bitcoin? How do you get Bitcoin into your customers' hands? So like rewards, taking a percentage of your free cash flow, dumping it into Bitcoin, holding it on your balance sheet, accepting Bitcoin as payment. Like should be your quote unquote crypto strategy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So really the idea of like the whole like it can be digitized is kind of just all noise and it's kind of bullshit. Okay, that makes sense because I was more curious because like I know Big Mike went down that road with and he had to sell his company. It's like Candy Digital or something for like a third, but like that's why I was like he may be scared of this stuff because I was like let me ask this question again because I'm kind of like, I don't even understand the NFT shit or all that shit ever. I think it's all kind of fucking bogus shit. So it's like, I don't really know and understand why it even has value. But the only thing I was thinking was like the idea of like, but if you can't, you're right, because you could steal it. You can steal the fucking coin. You could steal the card from me. So it doesn't really you can't really be like, oh, I can say this was on this, this digital mark makes it real when you could just steal the card from me.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I could drink your milkshake.
Yes. So it's kind of like, what's the point of what's the
complicating something?
What's the point of complicating it? What's the point of complicating something like that? There's no point of complicating it.
And your opportunity cost of following the NFT fad or the tokenization of physical goods fad, like that's time not spent figuring out how to implement.
You're right.
A
You're running a multi-billion-dollar business, one of the biggest in the world. Why are you going to waste your time on something like that's kind of a fad?
Yeah.
So things that are not a fad that I have another question on, and that maybe could tie to like mash and what we're working on is like someone like Fanatics, like if you're like, I want to be the brand, I want to be the number one sports brand in the world. You're always going to be top, like all the attention is on platforms. Okay. All the attention comes from platforms. In a new attention world that would be ran off like Fountain and all those guys, in a new attention world that's like ran off of Lightning and Bitcoin or whatever, how does that work? Like explain that in a new attention world, meaning like all these new monetization models for media, because that also is a big it's a, like they have Fanatics Live where they're like doing card breaks or whatever. But like, to me, if you're going to be the everything app, like the everything for sports app, like you're eventually going to either, can't really buy Barstool, they should buy Barstool, but you can't now. But like what I'm saying is like you're going to have to create content. There's going to have to be a content world. And you don't really want to be beholden to YouTube, Facebook, any fan company, because they control everything. They control all the data. They're never going to give you the correct data. How does that now work too in the new world of like, okay, like here's one case scenario I was thinking of. I was thinking of MASH and thinking of Fanatics. Like we're building stuff to essentially we can remonetize, like we're going to remonetize publishers. We're going to fix their engagement, turn any publisher into a platform. Couldn't Fanatics has a relationship with every website, with every sports team. PhiladelphiaEagles.com, Philly Sixers, Patriots, whatever. Couldn't they essentially be able to collect data or something like that around customers with something like MASH that they couldn't get any other way? Because you're not going to be able to get it from YouTube. Like imagine if the NFL was like, we're going to stop putting our stuff on YouTube. We want it back on our platforms. We want it back on Philadelphia Eagles. We want all our highlights to go there. We want all that to go there. Couldn't you monetize or collect data in a way that would be different using Lightning? That you currently couldn't do? Because you're never going to build a platform. You're not going to build the next YouTube. Fanatics is not going to build the next YouTube.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this before. We can cut it if you're not comfortable talking about it. MASH just talked about like implementing like the ads, right?
Yeah, no, we can talk about anything. Like you said, we don't cut anything. We don't cut anything.
Yeah, so like
let's talk about anything.
Why does YouTube have all that data and hold it tightly? Because they make all the revenue from the ads, that they get the leverage with the data. So similarly, like it would be a completely new model, but like this idea, it's all about incentives. So like bringing it back to your platform, then trying to monetize on your platform. It's creating an incentive model that incentivizes people to interact with your monetization tools as a company. And this, like what you guys are working on at MASH with this advertising placement, where you can put an advertisement on your site via MASH on the back end, and then the advertisements engage base. So it's like a survey or something like that. So that's a great way to collect data. And the user is incentivized to do it because they're getting sats to engage with that. They're getting paid to do that. And that helps you hone in on survey responses and then cost of acquisition, all that stuff.
Yeah, because there's been those models before. There's definitely been engagement-based ads before. But I think the thing that you always come back to, and I think this is the right way to look at it, and I just can't sometimes conceptualize it in my brain, is like when you're getting back hard assets, you're much more willing to do something than you are.
What were the ads before, the survey-based ads? They were just the time suck. You didn't get anything in return.
No, you did, but it would be like, oh, you earn airline miles to get, like I've seen a million of those companies. Like trust me, like when I worked at Barstool, I've seen a million of those companies. Like, oh, you're earning these points, and then you can get $100 gift card one day. Yeah,
but the points aren't worth your time, whereas the Bitcoin will be worth your time.
Yes,
that is, it's matching that time capital with actual like monetary capital, and airline miles do not equate to time capital. Bitcoin does.
So then,
in terms of worth,
another question that I have, and I kind of hit on it earlier, but now it's like, if the future of all this is personal brand, it's all personal brand, okay? Future of media, sorry, not all this, I meant media. The future of media is personal brand. What is the incentivization of the stack of like, let's take Joel Embiid again. I'm gonna play in the NBA. I'm gonna make all this money this way, but then I'm gonna go create a media company or whatever, something for my personal brand. Isn't it better to start to accept Bitcoin and use these type of like engagement tools, because you can't be censored and you can't really be stopped? Correct? Like that's what I always think about too. It's like we're at a point in the world where it's like, where like, and I know like everyone, like I'm not talking about like the censorship idea of like think about Twitter. Like Twitter, like they're like Disney pulls off the platform, you can pull anyone off a platform. Wouldn't you, as like a sports star or whatever, wouldn't you want to start to build something on this layer from the idea of like, no matter what happens in the world or what happens in my career, like things can go wrong in your career. Like I'm not going to be like censored? Like, isn't that like the Nostr thing? I don't know. I'm just thinking of like the idea of like Fanatics has all the relationships with all these sports stars. It may not be ESPN that is like the leader to give you the information anymore. It may just be the person. You're going one-to-one. You're getting rid of the middleman of the ESPN brand. Fanatics could be like the back end that powers all their merch and does all that stuff and all and all like their collectibles or whatever. But from the front end, how they get information out into the world, why does everyone not decide to go build on why is everyone not building on or like at least looking into that yet? Is it just because YouTube's too big and like all these things are too big?
Yeah, I mean, network effects are massive
on
these platforms where it's just easy. I mean, the friction to attain the network effect, the audience network effect that you could on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, whatever it may be, Twitch, TikTok, like it's a much bigger hurdle to go it alone. But I do think we're too early right now to realize that dream of independent content creators really running everything. We're making incredible progress.
Incredible. We made incredible progress.
Things like podcasting 2.0 and Nostr. I do think eventually they'll get there. But yeah, it's like if you build it, they will come. Somebody's got to build it. I do think if you were to create the conditions to enable this type of thing, it could be massively beneficial for you in the long run. And then like other things too, like before you even get to the extreme end of the spectrum of adversarial thinking of like athletes getting censored, like again, going back to like low hanging fruits, operating in a world where that isn't happening, there's still benefits to me, like podcasting 2.0. People are listening to the show. They're streaming us Bitcoin. As they stream me Bitcoin, I'm getting 80% of it. Logan's getting a percentage of it. We're donating 5% to OpenSats. That's happening immediately. So when you port that model over to something like sports memorabilia, where Fanatics has the rights to sell jerseys or merch on behalf of individual athletes, like they could create a business structure similar to podcasting 2.0 is like once the invoice is paid, Fanatics gets their cut, which is their royalties plus the OpEx, and then the athlete gets paid immediately, and maybe their management team gets paid immediately or something like that.
That's the other thing too. But I think you're saying it better than the way I was trying to think of it, is like with like a way that you can see it basically every dollar where everything goes instantly.
Yes.
Like your management team, like I guess that's what I was kind of getting at, is like the new model of the world is like kind of what McAfee did, where it's like, okay, we're on YouTube, but we have 8 employees, 9 employees. It's like being able to sit there and be like, okay, like we all knew each other. You know what I mean? Like we all knew each other. So it was like, okay, like there's no Pat's the most generous person in the world. We don't got to worry about that. What I'm thinking of is like the new world model though. It's like people that are really good at YouTube. Like you go to YouTubejobs.co, like the really good people, like they don't know those people. Like let's take like, and when I say censorship is the wrong word, because you can get censored for anything. You use the wrong clip, you're censored. Like the wrong clip of like, I use the wrong music, I'm taken off YouTube. I didn't even know it. Okay, I just got a strike on YouTube. But the idea of being able to be like, okay, I can then build out my own PR messaging media arm instantly, and I know where all the money goes. Like that's another huge part of like Bitcoin Lightning, correct? Where it's like being able to know where all the money's going, like where like, okay, like you hire this team of people, I want to build I want to build like what Paul George built with the thing or whatever. You know where all the money's going almost instantly, and like where everyone's getting paid too.
It's certainly much better. However, there are like social engineering attacks to this model that could happen. Like, so for example, I'm a basketball player, Fanatics is selling my merch on behalf of me. I'm not saying they would do this, but like just to level set, make it clear that there will still be a level of trust necessary in this business engagement. It's like Fanatics could hypothetically like sell a piece of my merch and give them an invoice from a node that my split isn't involved in, and they could sell that merch. I would be none the wiser to it unless I'm auditing their back end like inventory. So like they would have to provide that back end inventory data like with the invoices paid, which takes a level of trust and transparency for both parties involved. But ideally, yes.
Well, that's pretty.
If you're engaged in a honest business transaction, you can make that flow as simple as possible, and the accounting is immediate.
So that is possible. Yeah. Okay, so you could do it in a way.
You got the Bitcoin or adversarial thinker coming out now. Like there's ways to socially.
You don't got a Bitcoin adversarial think me, dude. You don't got to do that. You do that enough, dude. You don't got to do that enough. We're talking to Big Mike right now. We're talking about our first Bitcoin for Business podcast, and I don't know, it's be number 2. So we want Big Mike to get the right information.
Okay, I just gave him the right information. Think adversarial, Big Mike. You got to think through these stuff. So these questions will come up. You'll have a smart athlete. Aaron Rodgers is like, yo, like, how do I know that you're not sending invoices and selling my merch?
True.
With like a split that I'm not a part of.
So then now, I mean, we're getting to, I don't think I have many more questions, because it really comes down to, if you ask me, it's the answer is what you said in the beginning. It's just the idea of like, okay, first mover advantage and leveraging the relationships you have to actually make a better customer experience for people that consume Fanatics products, because it seems like it can work across almost any product line. But the real thing is just using Bitcoin in the correct way, and it's not just like trying to make up all these like jazz, like the NFT bullshit. It's like just using it in a way that's like, okay, this is what it really can do for Fanatics.
Yeah, and it's being practical and pragmatic about where you are as a business and where Bitcoin is as a technology and its maturation. And so, like, again, going back to rewards, I think rewards is the lowest hanging, no-brainer way to integrate it, because you're not dumping a bunch of your cash flow into Bitcoin, holding on your balance sheet, stomaching the volatility. Like, you're leveraging something that you're just replacing something that you're already leveraging with a better product. And it's sort of the lowest risk way to get Bitcoin into your business model for Fanatics specifically. And then you get Bitcoin in the hands of your customers. They become more familiar with it. Then maybe down the line, you implement something like accepting Bitcoin as payment. And then further down the line, you implement something like automatic revenue splits with the athletes that you're representing. And then further down the line, you just completely transition to a company run on Bitcoin. But you
can run all this on Bitcoin.
You can, yeah. I mean, there's probably,
because I'm thinking
still
about,
very early.
It is early, but
the problem is it's the 0 to 1 problem. Not everybody has Bitcoin, so it's like thinking of creative, unique ways.
But if I'm Big Mike,
do it with that in mind.
If you're talking Big Mike and I'm Big Mike right now, I'm thinking about the idea of like, if we're going down the road of recession, inflation, we all know that's happening. Let's just get that out of the way. Let's not act like it's not happening. Maybe recession, I don't know. I don't know what an IRA is, so I don't know what recession means. But I know inflation's real. We know that's
2 quarters in a row of negative GDP growth.
Okay, so that's probably going to happen. The first thing you're going to take off is like anything that's like an extra spend. Obviously, I think sports are the biggest in the world. Like, people will go to sports events no matter.
Yeah, bread and circuses. That's During the fall of empires, people are really into sports to get distracted from the real world.
But you could essentially save your motherfucking business by being like, give people rewards back in Bitcoin. It's like it's not saving money.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like, and that's again going back to the 0-1 problem. People not having Bitcoin. I think that's why I'm extremely thankful that companies like Fold exist, because I think this is one of the best sly roundabout ways to get Bitcoin into the hands of people. And they may be like, I got this Bitcoin cash back, like whatever. I'll just let it sit there. And then over time, they see the value, the purchasing power of that Bitcoin accrue. And they're like, oh man, maybe I should look into this. They see what Bitcoin is, like, holy crap, this is massive. And then you could easily see a scenario in which Fanatics users feel indebted to Fanatics for introducing them to Bitcoin, become even more emboldened to go back and do business with Fanatics, to buy more merch, to interact with the live streams, the betting platform, whatever it may be.
Yeah, like you would be like, okay, because they are helping me save money, this is what I'll use to buy my tickets. I won't use to go to Ticketmaster. Like, they end up being a ticketing platform. I think Fanatics is trying to be everything.
Yeah, they care about me, so I do want to support them.
Yeah, like they're coming, because the way Big Mike's thinking about it is they're thinking about like 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah.
So at least he's thinking about it in a way where it's like, if you start doing this now, first mover advantage, you could.
And again, there's low hanging fruit. Rewards, I think, is a massively low hanging fruit, and it's lowest friction. The enterprise APIs exist. You probably don't have to put up a shit ton of capital. You don't have to take on a bunch of Bitcoin exposure risk yourself as a company. It's all operated on the back end by Fold and other companies like them. And then you just begin to see how your customers are interacting with it. You get feedback from them. I think eventually, like, holding Bitcoin as a company will be validated. And then you go from rewards to accepting Bitcoin to all the other exotic and innovative solutions that we described, whether like payment splits and international commerce and all that stuff. It's an order of operations, I think.
Yeah, that's the way Big Mike's going to think about it. I'm thinking about it from like I think about just all the cool shit in the future.
Yeah, I mean, big goal, eventually go into Bitcoin Standard. We're doing all these cool things as a company, but to get to that end goal, you got to take small steps. First small step, rewards.
All right. Big Mike, you heard it here first. You're going to become the Amazon of sports if you listen to Marty. And there we go.
I like the structure. I like the show. I like you peppering me with questions. How'd I do?
I think you did pretty well. I think I'm don't really still understand everything Bitcoin can do. So when we do more of these, I'll be able to understand more about like how companies can use it, because everyone's always like, well, we got to build these new things. We got to build these new, like, companies ain't going to go away. Fanatics ain't going away. So there has to be a more like information from the Bitcoin world of like how a company itself can use it.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing.
Practically. And that's the big problem that Bitcoiners, myself included, have had. It's just like, you need to just start accepting Bitcoin. It's not really practical for multi-billion-dollar businesses. Like, what is the first step they can take? Again, beat the dead horse. Rewards, I think, makes perfect sense here.
Rewards, and then the other thing, like you said earlier, it's probably rewards and chargebacks, because those are the two things. There's a lot of chargebacks in that industry.
Yeah. Well, then that's where it gets interesting, where the company can actually dictate user behavior, because they're like, we're taking on so much chargeback risk that we need you to pay this way so that we eliminate that risk from our business. But that, again, too, I think it may still be a bit too early for that, but down the line eventually.
Okay. I like this. I like the new Bitcoin for business. People tell us in the comments, what do you want to see us do next?
Yeah, which business should we do next?
I don't know, dude. We got to do another. We can do it.
Maybe it should be user-generated topics,
Yeah, let the users pick. Drop it in the comment. Tell us, tweet at Marty. Tell us, what business do you want us to discuss how Bitcoin could implement it? Because I think this is how we got to be thinking of this now. The super smart people do the super smart things. You do the super smart things. We got to be thinking about it in a way where it's like,
what's practical?
What's practical, and why a business would do this now, and why they should do it to keep market share for the next 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Because every company should be able to implement it. I don't think there's many people that are even like telling companies like, this is what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Or why.
If you're listening to this and you want to see a list of companies that can help you do this, go to 1031.vc or portfolio companies. You see it.
You're pumping your bags right now.
Well, I'm just...
We came in here to do this for Philadelphia, and you're pumping your bags.
I think the companies in our portfolio can help you do this if you're looking to do it. Fold is one of them. Disclaimer.
Fine. You're pumping your bags. Now I get the format of this show. It's just going to be you pumping your bags and me asking the questions. All right, I'm good. I got enough. Thank you, Marty. Big Mike's done for the day.
Peace of love, freaks. Sticky.